NVIDIA founder and CEO, Jensen Huang.
Hello, Las Vegas! Happy New Year! Welcome to CES. Well, we have about 15 keynotes worth of material to pack in here. I'm so happy to see all of you. You got 3,000 people in this auditorium. There's 2,000 people in the courtyard watching us. There's another 1,000 people apparently in the fourth floor where there's supposed to be NVIDIA show floors, all watching this keynote. And of course, millions around the world are going to be watching this to kick off this new year. Well, every 10 to 15 years, the computer industry resets. A new platform shift happens. From mainframe to PC, PC to internet, internet to cloud, cloud to mobile. Each time, the world of applications target a new platform. That's why it's called a platform shift. You write new applications for a new computer. Except this time, there are two simultaneous platform shifts, in fact, happening at the same time. While we now move to AI, applications are now going to be built on top of AI. At first, people thought AIs are applications, and in fact, AIs are applications, but you're going to build applications on top of AIs. But in addition to that, how you run the software, how you develop the software fundamentally changed. The entire five-layer stack of the computer industry is being reinvented. You no longer program the software, you train the software. You don't run it on CPUs, you run it on GPUs. And whereas applications were pre-recorded, pre-compiled, and run on your device, now applications understand the context and generate every single pixel, every single token, completely from scratch every single time. Computing has been fundamentally reshaped as a result of accelerated computing, as a result of artificial intelligence. Every single layer of that five-layer cake is now being reinvented. Well, what that means is some $10 trillion or so of the last decade of computing is now being modernized to this new way of doing computing. What that means is hundreds of billions of dollars, a couple of $100 billion in VC funding each year is going into modernize and inventing this new world. And what it means is $100 trillion of industry, several percent of which is R&D budget, is shifting over to artificial intelligence. People ask, where is the money coming from? That's where the money is coming from. The modernization of AI to AI, the shifting of R&D budgets from classical methods to now artificial intelligence methods. Enormous amounts of investments coming into this industry, which explains why we're so busy. And this last year was no difference. This last year was incredible. This last year, there's a slide coming. This is what happens when you don't practice. It's the first keynote of the year. I hope it's your first keynote of the year. Otherwise, you have been pretty busy. This is our first keynote of the year. We're going to get the spider webs out. And so 2025 was an incredible year. It seemed like everything was happening all at the same time. And in fact, it probably was. The first thing, of course, is scaling laws. In 2015, the first language model that I thought was really going to make a difference, made a huge difference. It was called BERT. 2017, Transformers came. It wasn't until 5 years later, 2022, that ChatGPT moment happened, and it awakened the world to the possibilities of artificial intelligence. Something very important happened a year after that. The first O1 model from ChatGPT, the first reasoning model, completely revolutionary, invented this idea called test time scaling, which is a very commonsensical thing. Not only do we pre-train a model to learn, we post-train it with our reinforcement learning so that it could learn skills. And now we also have test time scaling, which is another way of saying thinking. You think in real time. Each one of these phases of artificial intelligence requires an enormous amount of compute. And the computing law continued to scale. Large language models continue to get better. Meanwhile, another breakthrough happened. And this breakthrough happened in 2024. Agentic systems started to emerge. In 2025, it started to proliferate just about everywhere. Agentic models that have the ability to reason, look up information, do research, use tools, plan futures, simulate outcomes, all of a sudden started to solve very, very important problems. One of my favorite agentic models is called Cursor, which revolutionized the way we do software programming at NVIDIA. Agentic systems are going to really take off from here. Of course, there were other types of AI. We know that large language models isn't the only type of information. Wherever the universe has information, wherever the universe has structure, we could teach a large language model, a form of language model, to go understand that information, to understand its representation, and to turn that into an AI. One of the biggest, most important one is physical AI. AIs that understand the laws of nature. And then, of course, physical AIs is about AIs interacting with the world, but the world itself has information, encoded information, and that's called AI physics. AI that, in the case of physical AI, you have AI that interacts with the physical world, and you have AI physics, AI that understands the laws of physics. And then lastly, one of the most important things that happened last year, the advancement of open models. We can now know that AI is going to proliferate everywhere when open source, when open innovation, when innovation across every single company and every industry around the world is activated at the same time. Open models really took off last year. In fact, last year, we saw the advance of DeepSeek R1, the first open model that's a reasoning system. It caught the world by surprise, and it activated literally this entire movement. It's really, really exciting work. We're so happy with it. Now we have open model systems all over the world of all different kinds, and we now know that open models have also reached the frontier. Still solidly is 6 months behind the frontier models, but every single 6 months, a new model is emerging, and these models are getting smarter and smarter. Because of that, you could see the number of downloads has exploded. The number of downloads is growing so fast because startups want to participate in the AI revolution. Large companies want to, researchers want to, students want to, just about every single country wants to. How is it possible that intelligence, the digital form of intelligence, will leave anyone behind? And so open models has really revolutionized artificial intelligence last year. This entire industry is going to be reshaped as a result of that. Now, we had this inkling some time ago. You might have heard that several years ago, we just started to build and operate our own AI supercomputers. We call them DGX clouds. A lot of people asked, are you going into the cloud business? The answer is no. We're building these DGX supercomputers for our own use. Well, it turns out we have billions of dollars of supercomputers in operation so that we could develop our open models. I am so pleased with the work that we're doing. It is starting to attract attention all over the world and all over the industries because we are doing frontier AI model work in so many different domains. The work that we did in proteins, in digital biology, La Proteina, to be able to synthesize and generate proteins, OpenFold 3 to understand the structure of proteins, Evo 2, how to understand and generate multiple proteins, otherwise the beginnings of cellular representation. Earth 2, AI that understands the laws of physics. The work that we did with ForecastNet, the work that we did with Cordiv, really revolutionized the way that people are doing weather prediction. Nemotron, we're now doing groundbreaking work there. The first hybrid transformer SSM model that's incredibly fast and therefore can think for a very long time or can think very quickly with that for not a very long time and produce very, very smart, intelligent answers. Nemotron 3 is groundbreaking work, and you can expect us to deliver other versions of Nemotron 3 in the near future. Cosmos, a frontier, open, world foundation model, one that understands how the world works. Groot, a humanoid robotic system, articulation, mobility, locomotion, these models, these technologies are now being integrated, and in each one of these cases, open to the world. Frontier humanoid robotics models open to the world. And then today, we're going to talk a little bit about Alpamayo, the work that we've been doing in self-driving cars. Not only do we open source the models, we also open source the data that we use to train those models. Because in that way, only in that way, can you truly trust how the models came to be. We open source all the models. We help you make derivatives from them. We have a whole suite of libraries. We call the NEMO libraries, physics NEMO libraries, and the Clara NEMO libraries, each Bio NEMO libraries. Each one of these libraries are life cycle management systems of AIs, so that you could process the data, you could generate data, you could train the model, you could create the model, evaluate the model, guardrail the model, all the way to deploying the model. Each one of these libraries are incredibly complex, and all of it is open sourced. And so now, on top of this platform, NVIDIA is a frontier AI model builder, and we build it in a very special way. We build it completely in the open so that we can enable every company, every industry, every country to be part of this AI revolution. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we're doing there. In fact, if you notice the charts, the chart shows that our contribution to this industry is bar none. And you're going to see us, in fact, continue to do that, if not accelerate. These models are also world-class.